Chapters 2 and 3, Speaking with Confidence and Speaking Freely and Ethically. George Jessel was an actor, singer, songwriter from the 1920s until the 1970s. He was started in vaudeville and went on to Broadway and to movies as well. He said, "The mind is a wonderful thing. It starts working the minute you're born and never stops until you stand up to speak in public." Public speaking is one of the greatest fears that human beings have. We have other fears such as flying and fear of heights, the dentist, snakes, spiders, and mice. But public speaking stands out as number one. Even people like President John F. Kennedy and British Prime Minister Winston Churchill talked about being fearful of speaking in public. So, what we want to understand is why we feel nervous before we speak. Let's get an understanding of that. Why do our knees shake and our stomach have butterflies? Because, first of all, our psychology affects our biology. What is it that we're thinking about that causes us to physically react? And then look at your biology and how it affects your psychology so that when something does physically occur within us, it affects what we think about that. Our apprehension will follow a predictable pattern. When you look at figure 2.1 in your book and on this slide, you see that when the speech assignment is given, your apprehension goes up. But it goes even higher when you stand up to begin your speech. Then once you begin speaking, it goes down and normalizes somewhat. So let's look at understanding this nervousness and how our brain triggers our body and that communication apprehension or the fear of speaking comes about in us. There's an average, an insensitive, an inflexible, and confrontational aspect of communication apprehension. There is some normalcy to having that fear of communication. But what do we want to do so that we can build our confidence in communicating? The first important way to build your confidence is to know your audience. For the purposes of this course, your audience will be your fellow classmates. Your audience is in the same predicament of this class as you are. The second thing is not to procrastinate. Although this is an easy thing for us to do, hopefully it will be difficult for you to procrastinate during this 8-week class. You don't have long from one week to the next to put things off, so I want to strongly encourage you not to procrastinate. As you are beginning to think about a speech, select an appropriate topic, one appropriate to your audience and one appropriate for you that you will enjoy. You also need to be prepared for your speech. There are 3 words that I will give you that I believe are important in being prepared. Rehearse, rehearse, rehearse. If you look a couple of bullets down, you'll see make your practice real. As you rehearse, I want to encourage you to stand in front of a mirror, to stand up and do what you might do in presenting your speech. Get into as real a situation when you rehearse as you can to what will closely be your situation when you give your speech. And then be organized. Make sure that you have a clear flow. Know your introduction and conclusion. The first impression is difficult to make a second time. You only have this first chance to make a first impression, a good first impression. So make your introduction one that will pop and will gain the attention of your audience. Also, make sure that your conclusion ends on a good note. And then look at that last bullet. Although it may sound funny, breathing is important. Before you begin, take a deep breath and then exhale, pause, and begin. Breathing will help you throughout your speech as well so that you don't run out of breath as you speak. Continue to build your confidence by channeling your nervous energy, putting it into a place where you are concentrating on what you're doing. Visualize your success. See yourself doing well as you give a speech. Give yourself a mental pep talk. You can do this. Go for it. And then focus on your message, not your fear. Think about what you have to say and concentrate on that. Then look for some positive support. Maybe you have family members who will encourage you and listen to you as you prepare your speech. Focus on your accomplishment. Think about what you are doing and how you will have done well, and don't focus on your fear. And then seek speaking opportunities. If you have an opportunity in your church to teach a Sunday school class, do that. If you have an opportunity at work to make a presentation, do that. All of these things will help you build your confidence. Chapter 3, Speaking Freely and Ethically. Ethics are our beliefs, our values, and our moral principles by which we determine what is right and wrong. For public speaking, a responsibly balanced right to free speech is important along with the needs of our audience. Speaking freely has gone from the beginning of the Constitution of the United States and the First Amendment through free speech in the 20th and 21st centuries. Your text and these slides have a history of free speech and what has happened in the United States along with free speech. It's important for us with this to be able to speak ethically, to have a clear and responsible goal about what we're talking, not to coerce or to manipulate, but to also reveal the true agenda. Use sound evidence and reasoning. Make sure that you're clear and that you're sensitive to and tolerant to differences. But with that, also be honest. Don't plagiarize or present someone else's ideas or words as though they were your own. And don't plagiarize or fail to give credit for compelling phrases that are taken from another source. It's important to give credit where credit is due. So, how might you incorporate credit or an oral citation into your speech? The first thing that you want to make sure that you do is provide the date, the type of resource, the title, and the author or the source. And then before you begin giving that quote, pause briefly to signal that you're about to begin quoting, quote the source, and then pause again. On a 2010 webpage titled Rabies, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention define rabies as a preventable viral disease of mammals, most often transmitted through the bite of a rabid animal. Did you hear the pauses and the importance of incorporating this oral citation into a speech? Be aware of how to do that. And then speak credibly or believably. Your credibility is your believability, which involves your competence, your knowledge, your dynamics in your delivery, and then your trustworthiness. So let's look at this quick check of what an ethical speaker involves. You have a clear, responsible goal. You use sound evidence and reasoning. You're sensitive to and tolerant of differences. You're honest, and you avoid plagiarism. Make sure that you give credit where credit is due in public speaking.